Hey, this is Landon from PollenSense, and this is a quick intro for the PollenSense portal. First, you'll go to portal.pollensense.com/login. You can click on register and create an account. Once you've got an account, you can sign in. If you're new to PollenSense and you're ready to set up a sensor, you'll click provision. In order to provision your device, you'll need a device ID, which you'll enter here. That ID number can be found on the bottom of your sensor. It's on a little sticker with a PollenSense logo next to it. You'll enter your latitude and longitude, also your altitude, the height above the ground. So if the sensor's a meter above the ground or on a rooftop, you'll enter in the height from the ground. You'll also enter in a location. A website URL is optional, and then you can also, if you like, enter a public description. This is especially handy if you've got a couple of sensors and you want Albuquerque East, Albuquerque West, or something like that. You'll also select a provisioning. Most people are using this sensor for outdoor ambient. In other words, they're monitoring the air quality in the outdoors. So that would be your selection. Then you'll hit submit. Once you've done that, your sensor will show up here in a list. And if you have multiple sensors, there will be a list of sensors. You can click on your sensor, and the first thing you'll see is the Manage tab. The Manage tab is going to tell you the status of the sensor. Usually it will tell you if it's online or offline, and that's about all you need to know there. It'll also tell you what models your sensor is running. So there are two levels of models. There's a detector, that's the particle segment here, and that's going to decide whether or not a particle is pollen, mold, or something else. Once it's decided that, the classifiers will determine which types of pollen the pollen grains are, or which types of mold the mold spores are, or anything else will go into the OVPAR segment. You can click on the Examine tab, and it's going to pull up a raw frame here. I've already got one pulled up on this next tab. You can click on the particles and they'll tell you what was detected. So this says it's 100% chance this is a pollen grain, and 53% chance that it is oak or quercus. You can click on the other one and see that it's determined that it is alder. You can also click on these different categories and see what has been determined to be pollen or mold or something else. And if you click through these, you can see the different frames. They come in every couple of minutes. You can go over the Analyze tab, and you will be able to select the particles you're interested in by clicking on Filter. Keep in mind that you're only going to see the particles that are collected or found during that time period. So this is the last 24 hours. I often like to click on the daily average for the week. That just gives me an overview of the trends for the last week. You'll see that the units are 5,000 particles per meter cubed, or pollen grains per meter cubed if you are looking at pollen, and you can see time here below. You can click on Export if you want to download a CSV, and you can also change the scale. Right now we run two different scales. Our normal scale, which is our math, our sensor, and we also have a Burckhardt conversion factor, and you can see the units change over here. Our sensor is a lot more efficient at trapping particles, and so our levels are elevated when compared to a Burckhardt. And so a lot of people like to compare their levels to a Burckhardt. Maybe they're still running a Burckhardt, or they have historic data. So a lot of people are toggling back and forth between these scales. Over here you can add a shared user, so I could click on Add Shared User, enter somebody's email address twice, and then hit Send, and they have 24 hours to accept that. So you can have multiple users on the same account with this sharing process. And that is a quick intro on the PollenSense portal.